I don't know who else to tell. I've been typing and deleting this for 3 days. My daughter learned to hold her breath at summer camp. 3 minutes, she told me on the drive home, her hair still damp against the headrest. 3 whole minutes underwater. The counselor timed everyone. "That's wonderful, sweetie," I said. I was thinking about whether I'd remembered to take the chicken out of the freezer. I was thinking about the work email I hadn't answered. I was thinking about everything except my daughter sitting behind me, wet-haired and quiet, watching the road blur past the window. I wish I'd paid more attention in that moment. I wish I'd looked in the rearview mirror. I wish I'd seen her face. She started practicing in the bath that night. I heard her from the hallway, the slosh and settle of water, then silence. It wasn't the easy hush of a child unwinding. It felt pressurized, contained, as if the air itself were holding its breath. I stood there counting. 1, 2, 3. And at around 45 seconds, I felt it. That cold, animal flicker at the base of my spine, the instinct evolution wired into mothers for precisely this kind of darkness. And I knocked. "I'm fine, Mom," she called out. Her voice was muffled, like someone speaking through water. I told myself it was the acoustics. Old house, thick walls. I told myself a lot of things that week. She didn't want breakfast the next morning, pushed her toast around the plate, drank her orange juice in one long swallow, and then sat staring at the glass like she was waiting for it to refill itself. I caught her at the kitchen sink 20 minutes later. Glass after glass of tap water, drinking so steadily I thought I'd hear it sloshing inside her. "Are you feeling all right?" "Just thirsty," she said. She smiled at me. Her teeth looked very white. I don't know how to explain what was wrong with that smile. It looked pleasant enough, almost gentle, yet it carried the air of someone who has arrived somewhere and found it exactly as good as they were promised. It was a satisfied smile. Complete. She'd never smiled at me like that before. My daughter's smiles were always a little gap-toothed, a little reaching, a little wanting. This smile wanted nothing. By the weekend, she was spending hours in the bath. I'd knock, she'd answer, "I'm fine, Mum." So at least that much was consistent. On Saturday evening, I finally insisted she get out, stood in the bathroom doorway with a towel and watched her climb out of the tub. Her fingers weren't pruned. You know how it looks when you've been in the water for too long? How the skin goes wrinkled and soft like something geological? Her fingertips were smooth, pale as milk glass, and I could see the fine blue lines of the veins beneath, closer to the surface than they should have been, almost translucent, like the skin was getting thinner. "The other kids from camp," I said, wrapping the towel around her shoulders. "Do you stay in touch?" "We don't need to talk anymore," she said. "We know." We know. I asked her what that meant. She looked at me, and this is the part I can't stop thinking about. She looked at me with that adult expression reserved for children who've asked why the sky is blue for the 10th time. Patient. A little tired. Like the answer was so obvious, she didn't know where to start. She didn't answer. She went to bed. I stood in the empty bathroom and stared at the water still in the tub, cooling now, perfectly still. And I thought about what lives at the bottom of things. I called Melissa the next day. Her son James had been at the same camp, same session, same age group, same counselor whose name I was now Googling obsessively and finding nothing unusual about. Melissa sounded like she hadn't slept in days. "He won't come out of the shower," she said. "We had to shut off the water main. He just stands there under the empty shower head.
eyes closed, smiling.
Smiling, I repeated.
Like he's still in it. Like he can still feel it.
I went through the camp directory. 12 children in that session. I contacted every family I could find. Text messages, Facebook. One panicked phone call at 11 at night to a father in another state who picked up sounding exactly like I felt. Every single one of them, the same story. Baths, showers, lakes. A little girl who waded into her neighbor's ornamental pond and stood there knee-deep in green water for 40 minutes, smiling until her father carried her out. A boy who was found in the rain, face upturned, letting it fall into his open mouth. Children who drifted towards water like a compass needle drifts towards north, helplessly, absolutely, as if there were no other direction that made sense. The camp closed without explanation 2 weeks after the session ended. The website went down. The phone number was disconnected. I found a local news brief about the owner, a brief, neutral, 3-sentence thing about administrative difficulties, and then nothing. The internet had nothing. The internet, which has everything, had nothing. I found my daughter in the bathroom again last Wednesday, past midnight. I'd gotten up for water, ironic, I know, and seen the light under the bathroom door. And when I opened it, she was lying in the tub, fully clothed. Pajamas, socks, hair fanned out, eyes closed. The water covered her face completely. She wasn't moving. I screamed her name. I grabbed her by the shoulders. She was heavier than I expected, like she'd filled with something, and I pulled her upright, and the water cascaded off her face and she opened her eyes. Slowly, as you do when you're dragged out of a dream you were still clinging to. "Mom," she said. Water ran from her mouth, but she wasn't coughing. She wasn't gasping. She spoke like she was simply expelling something she no longer needed. Some mechanism she was in the process of unlearning. "We were almost there." Where? I was shaking so hard I nearly dropped her. Where were you almost? She looked at me with something like pity, and I realized it was the same look she'd had in the bathroom that first time. The same patient, tired look. Except now there was something under it. Something that might have been love. The love reserved for something you're leaving behind. "Down," she said. "Where we're supposed to be." I drained the tub. I sat on the bathroom floor with my back against the door until morning. I went through every room and I hid every bucket, every bowl, every container that could hold more than a mouthful. I turned off the water main just like Melissa had, and then I felt a surge of terror so complete I turned it back on, because what if she needed water? What if she was dehydrated? What if that was the real problem and I was making it worse? I don't know what the right thing to do is. This morning I found her outside. She was lying face down in a puddle, no bigger than a dinner plate, left over from last night's rain, a thin skin of dirty water and a depression in our driveway. Her cheek was pressed into the mud. Her mouth was open. Her eyes were closed. Her chest wasn't moving. I turned her over. I screamed her name again. I performed the checks I learned in a first aid course 15 years ago and have never used and cannot now remember in the right order. She opened her eyes and smiled at me. "I'm fine, Mom," she said. "She's breathing now. Technically. But it's shallow and slow." And she pauses between breaths, and I find myself counting them. And sometimes the count gets very high before the next one comes. I fear she's practicing for something else. Like breathing is the thing she's learning to hold. To forget. The other parents have stopped answering their phones. I need to know if anyone has seen this. I need to know if anyone knows what happened at that camp. I need to know what's at the bottom. Can anybody help me?